The selling comes from the emotion of the prospect rather than brand equity. I get that, but here's my question. Can the principles of direct response be applied to branded products? What are tactics for that? Why don't you see it done very often? Okay, so brand versus direct response, right? So I think the first important thing to do here is to define the terms, because if you think about branding just as like a logo and a well-known name and like image advertising, etc., then typically what you might think of as a brand ad isn't going to look like a direct response ad, because it doesn't measure response. It doesn't do the things that direct response ads do, because all that they're doing is they're throwing money out there to put their message, their image in front of people and hoping people will respond. And then there's some kind of rough correlation through time between we ran these ads and we got these results. And oftentimes they have no freaking clue when they're doing that type of advertising. But if you think of brand not as the design, the logo, the image advertising, but instead of as a relationship and a reputation in the marketplace. So you have a relationship with the marketplace, you have a reputation in the marketplace, then a direct response advertiser can be a brand. And there's actually a lot of them. Most direct response advertising companies and products do have names. They just don't lead with the name. They don't lead with the whole the image of the brand, right? They lead by connecting with people on the basis of forming a relationship, developing a reputation, and it's built through time and customer relationships, aka transactions. So direct response can absolutely be used to build a brand. And in fact, in my opinion, it's the most ROI conscious way and the smartest way to build a brand is to make sure that you understand, okay, if we're spending this money to acquire customers, because that's what marketing and advertising is supposed to do. It's sales multiplied through media, right? That's, by the way, that's a direct response definition, right? It is selling multiplied through media. That's what advertising is. That's what marketing is. That goes all the way back to Claude Hopkins, scientific advertising, and John E. Kennedy, actually before that, at the Lord and Thomas Ad Agency in Chicago, where they worked together and defined many of the early principles of direct response. But basically, a brand, an actual brand, is built through time and through customer relationships. And the way that those happen is transactions. And so it has to start with the transaction. And so every time somebody buys from a brand, they are building that relationship. They're building the reputation of the brand, right? Or the reputation of the brand is developed. The relationship with the customer is developed every time that there is a transaction, an interaction, even just an engagement with content, right? As you're doing right now. My brand of Roy Furr and Breakthrough Marketing Secrets is growing with every conversation that I have with you through these daily episodes. And so like the whole key there is that direct response leads by saying, oh, it has to start with a transaction, versus the traditional, what you might think of as image advertising, if we separate it out from the brand, does not lead with trying to stimulate the transaction. That said, a lot of companies that do image advertising today have done a lot of direct response-ish advertising, if not full-on direct response in the past. And so let's get into direct response. And I even have a few examples for you that are, I think very valid and valuable for you to think about. So direct response. First off, part of the question was applying the principles of direct response. So let's talk about that. The number one principle of direct response is essentially, it's in the name. It's measured response to your advertising. So as soon as you are measuring the response to your advertising, as soon as you have a mechanism in place to measure the response to your advertising, then what you're doing becomes direct response. right? And then the tactics, the tactical and the techniques of implementation may vary a lot, and they may look very different in one space versus another. For example, financial newsletters versus, let's say, a wristwatch, right? The way that those are presented from a direct response perspective may vary dramatically. And yet both can do direct response by basically measuring, when we put this out there, does it work? How well does it work? Can we try it against something else? Which one works better? And then we learn from every test that we do in the marketplace. And then what that relies on is that you do have to have an offer. And oftentimes it is one clear offer. That's what works best in direct response. We try to sell one thing. The more you try and sell more things, the less likely you are to sell any of them. And so one thing that is learned very quickly in direct response is each ad needs to be like a sale unto itself. It needs a single offer. Now, you can get into things like catalogs, which do measure response, etc. And a catalog, if you think of it as, oh, this is trying to sell a lot of things, or this is a series of ads, that's going to make a difference. But basically, a direct response ad needs a single offer, and it needs to have a clear call to action that is tied to that measured response. And then what you start to learn is things like story matters. So, for example, my Ultimate Selling Storybook or the Story Selling Masterclass that I offer through BTMS Insiders, like the stories that you tell about the product, the offer, the creation of the product, the origin story, the person behind it, etc. All of those things can start to influence sales because humans are persuaded by story. Humans are moved by story. Communication happens at its deepest levels through story. And so the more effectively you tell a story in an ad, and there's a lot of brands that tell stories really well, but the more effectively you tell a story in an ad, the better it will do often. And then you have to do something to hook attention. So in a branded ad, it may look different versus, so for example, an ad from a big company that is well recognized may have a very like their hook may be very tied to the relationship and reputation that they have with the marketplace. And so the hook may be, we're doing this new thing. So for example, Elon Musk has his own brand at this point, right? And so Elon Musk's latest secret project is it's a hook in itself, right? Other direct response companies that aren't as well known in the marketplace may need some other type of hook. And so it's going to vary a lot. But again, measured response with an offer, often a story about the product and something to hook attention, those are techniques and tactics of direct response that may look very different depending on the offer type, the market type, etc., right? And then one more critically important aspect of direct response that brands are getting into more and more these days, especially with the internet, is lead generation and list building. So building an audience of people with whom you have a permission, an established relationship and permission to reach out to them, whether that's through direct mail or through email or through some other channel. But you have an established relationship with them such that you can proactively reach out to them and put an offer in front of them in the form of some kind of, ad with a measured response, right? So these are fundamental principles: measured response, offer, story, hook. And if you follow Russell Brunson, you'll notice the hook, story, offer format worked backwards in there. And then lead generation and list building. So all of these things are really basic principles of direct response that apply whether you're doing something that has some brand or reputation in the marketplace or not. So all of that definitely applies to branded products. Now, one thing that will jump out if you're looking for direct response ads versus not direct response ads is you'll notice, for example, some ads are much shorter and they include much less copy, but they can still have every principle of direct response that I talked about with measured response, offer, story, hook, and maybe some form of list building, oftentimes for a For a lower price product, that list building is simply just making the first purchase with the company, and then they're going to market to you afterwards. So what's the difference there between long copy direct response versus short copy direct response? Well, typically a less complex product has less copy needed. So what you'll notice is that if the value proposition is simpler, so something I often use for this, like toilet paper, right? Most of us know what toilet paper is. The value proposition of toilet paper is fairly simple. And while there is some variation between products, it's well established knowing what it's supposed to do and what the benefits of it are. And so there may be short copy to differentiate your toilet paper from the competition's, right? It's softer, it's stronger, whatever. But you don't need a lot of copy for that. And you can still have a direct response, call to action. You can have an offer. It's a certain number of rolls or a certain number of sheets for this much, and go here to get it, right? Although oftentimes that's not done really as a direct response unless there's a coupon in the ad that they can measure. So, save $1 off a 24 pack of this toilet paper. That coupon is a direct response ad, right? And because the value proposition is so simple, they don't really need a whole lot of copy to sell it. They just give the person the coupon and they go to the store and they know this offer works better than that, or this sales angle for stronger toilet paper works better than softer toilet paper, or the other way around, or whatever. Also, a less complex product that needs less copy, it tends to be a more familiar product. So if you are very familiar with a particular product or product type, for example, a watch. I keep saying that because I'm actually going to show you an example of a really good direct response branded ad that I have it sitting here. And it's for a watch, right? And so a watch is a very familiar product. So it tends to need much less copy, although that's very different from toilet paper because it is there are more elements to it, right? That make it more interesting. And the other thing is watches can vary dramatically. Like, is this a low price watch? Is this a watch with a million movements built into it? Some really unique movements, some unique engineering, whatever. Like, it's still a familiar product type, but the explanation of it can vary dramatically depending on the complexity of the watch or the complexity of the value proposition of that watch. And similar to the more familiar product, the more familiar brand can often do direct response with way less way less copy, right? So, for example, Elon Musk's latest project may need way less copy than something else, right? Than something that is, well, let's say the new electric truck, which is quite a thing if you look at it. Elon Musk selling a new electric truck is going to take way less copy, and he can still measure response, how many people are coming into the stores associated with putting out whatever communication about it, whatever, right? That's going to take way less copy than, for example, somebody else who launched that exact same truck, but wasn't Elon Musk, having some kind of offer that they're trying to put in the marketplace for that. So the more familiar brand is going to need less copy for that. So I said I would get into some examples, some different examples of direct response, and one of them actually that is going to it may surprise you. So McDonald's, I'm loving it, right? Very brand centric company. There's the golden arches, there's all of the imagery of McDonald's, etc. Well, I'll tell you what, I have an uncle who used to write direct response inserts for McDonald's, and it was inserts that got put into the local paper that had typically a main offer, a main feature on the top of the page, and on the bottom of the page there was something like 4 coupons for different meals that you could get, or different food item, different menu items that you could get. And each of those coupons was tracked. And he knew, oh, here was one that was incredibly successful versus other ones, right? And so McDonald's, as an example, all of their image advertising that you see in like big mass media, that's actually feeding the brand awareness that allows them to do fairly simple direct response in newspapers and do it as a one sheet that includes some coupons that people can bring in. And so it's direct response, and it's driven by the branding ads that are put out into the marketplace. And by the way, this is becoming more and more common on the internet, that more and more direct response people are finding ways to like do branding and to establish a brand for themselves or for their product or their business, etc. And so there becomes this direct response people are doing more branding. But the other thing is the internet has made everything tracked and trackable. And so if everything is being tracked and people who are tracking things and paying attention to tracking are dictating the prices of, for example, clicks through Facebook or Google or whatever, right? Through various media channels, then the people who want to just be brand and image advertisers have to pay attention to how things are tracked and what response they're getting in order to compete in those marketplaces. And so it's a back and forth where brand advertisers are doing more direct response type stuff or conversion marketing or whatever they want to call it, so they don't have to lump themselves in with these entrepreneurial direct marketers. And direct marketers are doing more branding stuff because it makes it actually more affordable as they have a more familiar product and a more familiar brand to get response, and they build more of an audience that way. So the watch that I mentioned, actually, and if you read many magazines in the US, you'll probably recognize these ads because they tend to be formatted in almost the same way. And they're Stour. You can see the brand down here. So Stour has a reputation. I ripped these out of a Smithsonian magazine. This one is another Stour. As you can see, it has the brand down in the corner. And so like the watch ad, the hook for this is Secrets of a Billionaire Revealed. And the hook is also the image. Like if you visually like this watch, okay, I'm going to pay attention to that. I'm going to pay attention to the Secrets of a Billionaire Revealed. And because they're doing low price offers, they also have only $29 in big text that is also a different hook. So depending on where your eye lands, there are different things to hook your attention into there. And then there's a quote that establishes the story of this watch. Price is what you pay, value is what you get. Whether we're talking about socks or stocks, I like buying quality merchandise when it is marked down. Wisdom from the most successful investor of all time. So that's a Warren Buffett quote. And so Secrets of a Billionaire Revealed, the story, like the hook was Secrets of a Billionaire Revealed, as well as the watch and the price. And it says, we're going to let you in on a secret. Billionaires have billions because they know value is not increased by an inflated price. They avoid big name markups and aren't swayed by flashy advertising. So they're establishing themselves as a low price, like whatever, for this offer, right? When you look on their wrist, you'll find a classic timepiece, not a cry for attention, because they know true value comes from keeping more money in their pocket. And so that establishes this as low cost, high value watch. And there is specifically an offer. Take 90% off instantly when you use your offer code. Jet Setter chronograph, $299. Offer code price, $29 plus shipping and postage. Save $270. And it says you must use the offer code to get our special price. And it has the phone number and it has an offer code, which it's a JCW381-01. And so when you go to their website or you go to, or you call this number, actually, I don't see, well, there is their website on here, but when you go to get this watch, when you go to buy this watch, you're going to be asked to enter that offer code or to share that offer code in order to get this pricing. And when you do that, they're tracking the response to this ad, and Stour does this. And so the insert is going to be, that code that they have is going to be different for every product, for every media placement. And when they do that, it's a very, like, they are branded. Stour is branded as the brand Stour, right? But at the same time, they're doing these direct response things. And so the woman's necklace and earrings here, sacred stone on the Southwest, is on the brink of extinction. So we have some scarcity there, which is very much a direct response tactic, right? So they're talking about this stone that's rare, and they're talking about all these cultures throughout history that talked about the rarest and most valuable turquoise is found in the American Southwest, but the future of the blue beauty is unclear. So they're saying like, oh, there's less available now, but we have it in this. And they even have an offer stack here. They have the pendant is $299, but it's just $99. The woven sterling silver chain is $149. The earrings are $299, but they're $99. But if you buy them all together, it's $249, which is, I guess, about $100 savings. So they have an offer stack to get the complete one, and again, they have an offer code here. So it's all these aspects of direct response are going into these Stour ads, and they're worth paying attention to. So they have hooks, they have stories, they have offers, they're doing measure response, they're doing list building with these low price offers. I am sure, I have yet to buy a Stour product, so I'm not quite sure, but if I had to venture a wild guess, my guess is as soon as you sign up and you get this delivered, you're getting direct mail, you're getting email, they're doing limited time sales, they're doing offers like that are all designed to drive response in a direct response way, and yet they present themselves visually somewhat closer to a brand, to image advertising. A couple other examples, ClickFunnels, for example. Russell Brunson, he is creating. I mentioned him before. He's creating, and I'm going back through his book, so that's part of the reason I mentioned him a couple times. He's creating all of these different products and offers, and he's always putting offers out in the marketplace, etc. He's selling with direct response. He's very much a direct response person, and yet it's all serving the ClickFunnels brand, and it's all adding to the ClickFunnels brand, everything that he does. Amazon has, because they started online as a retailer online, they became focused very early on measured response, and they measured everything, and they took they built the Amazon brand, right? And so, for example, you show up, like an Amazon package shows up on your porch, and there's the Amazon logo and everything that becomes familiar, and they have the Amazon trucks, and it's all branded advertising, right? But at the same time, they are constantly looking at your behavior on Amazon, which is funny. So this weekend, I was talking to my son about new shoes and different shoes that are like in style now. And just as a joke, I looked up clown shoes on Amazon, and I said, "Here's the latest shoes that I see being in style, and I'm looking forward to getting them for my next pair of shoes." And I showed them to him. And now today, I arrive at Amazon in the app, and clown shoes are one of the first things it shows me. And I have a feeling within a day or two, I'm going to have an email in my inbox saying, hey, you should get those clown shoes you ordered. And Amazon measures all of that, and it's all direct response. But because because the offer is fairly simple, like the value proposition is fairly simple, the product itself is fairly simple. And it's something that I'm aware of because I was browsing on their site for it. They can just put that image in front of me and measure the clicks, and they know these different things, are going to get more clicks or less clicks, and they build algorithms to actually get people to get the emails that are most likely to get them to buy. Sorry, Amazon, I'm never going to buy clown shoes, but so I mean, going back to the question in the beginning, and this has become a rather long episode. A lot of the direct response ads I see are for things that are essentially unbranded. The selling comes from the emotion of the prospect rather than brand equity. So the reason that you see that is because these tend to be entrepreneurial companies that have less of a relationship and reputation with the markets that they're going after. And so they have to lead with what's relevant to the prospect, not what's relevant to their ego as I'm creating a brand. And so I get that, but here's my question. Can the principles of direct response be applied to branded products? Absolutely, based on what we've just talked about. What are the tactics for that? Why don't you see it done very often? And so addressing the final part of that, why don't you see it done fairly often? It's often, like, my response to that is because it tends to be invisible until you look for it. So, for example, now you're going to see the couponed ads from fast food restaurants and in mailers and etc. Right? You're going to see those and you're going to say, "Oh, they're doing direct response. I see their brand ads on TV. I see their image ads on TV, but this is direct response, and this is driving people into their locations." Or you're going to see a Stour ad, and yeah, there's not a coupon to cut out, but there's an offer code, and you can go enter that offer code, etc. Or, wherever you look, you're going to see there's a brand, there's some direct response, there's a little bit of back and forth. I click a Google ad for a brand, and it's tracked without me even having to think about it or enter an offer code or whatever. And so I think that the main reason that you don't see it done very often is because, you haven't quite known what to look for. Because it is done and it works and lots of great marketers are doing it.